All right, welcome once again, Disability Law Show. John Scholes here. Alongside me, Tumarkin, the co-founding partner of Samfiru, Tumarkin LLP, the most positively reviewed disability law firm in the entire country. You could Google that, and you'll quite quickly tell that I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. So have fun with that. You want to reach out at any time, by the way, before we even get rolling this half hour, to reach Savan and his team. Phone numbers first, 1-855-821. 5900, help at disabilityrights.ca. There's also disabilityrights.ca, just the website. That will lead you to the media page and a place to find a radio show and a station near you across the country where you can listen to that on a weekly basis. Hour-long show, the Disability Law Show. And I know Savannah will refer to this several times during the show, mydisabilityquestions.com. That's a website that's free, it's anonymous, and it's just how it sounds. It's a place for you to ask all of your questions. There's actually a searchable database there as well, so you can look for a question that's similar to yours if it's been typed in that way. And there might be an answer already waiting for you. If not, type it in. Savannah and his team will get to it. Again, mydisabilityquestions.com. Savannah, in the show today, 3 things your doctor can do to help your LTD claim. That's a little bit in the future, a few minutes away. But we always start with something that's been going on your side. Pal, what do you got for me?
Well, John, again, we are taping COVID style with one person in the studio, one person at home. And, you know, talking about COVID and the just tremendous psychological pressure that people are under as a result of the lockdown, as a result of the, new variant and everything else that's going on. Again, we are fielding a lot of questions from across the country from individuals who are disabled, legitimately unable to work. And they provide the necessary medical documentation to their insurance companies, and the insurance companies deny their claims, or in some instances, they approve the claims only to cut off the individual prematurely later. And again, we have lawyers. Our law firm operates in Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta at this point. At some point, I'm sure we'll expand. But we help individuals across those 3 provinces, everywhere in those provinces, deal and fight their long-term disability insurance denials. Let me tell you about this one individual that I spoke with earlier this week. A 47-year-old teacher called me. She suffers from breast cancer, and she's had chemo treatments, radiation. Obviously, there are psychological issues at play here as well because of the disease and the toll it's taken on her. And the reason she called me is not because she was cut off LTD. She's on long-term disability. She's been on long-term disability for several years. It's because she's noticed someone outside her home. And so she called me because she's concerned about surveillance. And the question she had is a common question we get from a lot of individuals. Can insurance companies have surveillance on you? What is the extent of that surveillance? What can a private investigator hired by the insurance company do or not do? And John, one of the websites that we often talk about is ltdfaq.ca, LTD frequently asked questions.ca. And it's a website we put together a few months back, as our viewers will recall, and it contains short memorandums about key topics, key questions that people have, that they call us about: surveillance, CPP disability, getting denied and, thinking about appealing that decision, all those kinds of issues. If you go to ltdfaq.ca, it's a free website. It has specific information answering the most common questions about those topics. And so I told this lady, of course, I gave her the information she needed. I explained that, insurance companies are entitled to have surveillance done, but there are limitations to what an investigator can do. They cannot photograph you inside your home. They cannot interact with you. They cannot interact with your children. They're not allowed to have contact with you because they are an agent of the insurance company. That said, insurance companies oftentimes will use surveillance that is gathered either from social media or by way of photographs and videos to then create a case, often from nothing, absolutely nothing, from what I've seen in many cases, where they'll tell you, look, we've seen you, walk your kids to school. We've seen you go for shopping. We've seen you go for coffee. Therefore, we've concluded that you're not disabled. And so people are concerned about that and the invasion of privacy issues. So again, if an insurance company cuts you off or stops paying you long-term disability because they say that they got you on surveillance doing something that is really, innocuous, or is really something not a big deal, but they use that to try and gaslight you and tell you you have no claim, do not take that at face value. This is when you call us. This is when you ask us, to speak with you about your situation. And I have to remind our viewers, John, we don't charge a dime, a cent for having these discussions with individuals who call us and email us each and every day. And so with this lady, just to cap off this case, I explained to her essentially everything we just discussed. I gave her more information. I told her if at any point the insurance company tries to cut you off LTD or tries to do something that they're not allowed to do, you give us a call immediately and we will help.
And that number, by the way, anytime, 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca. But surveillance is well, you and I talk about it all the time on the radio show and have been for years on this TV show as well. But it's the kind of thing that can free people out when someone, an insurance company tells them, well, we have you doing something on surveillance. But number one, and I know you worked on that side for a long time, Savan, so you know the inside pretty well of working for an insurance company in that regard. But A, it's very expensive. B, they can have hours and hours and tens of hours of you doing stuff that's just life and come up with nothing. So they got to find a nugget to justify paying for it in some regard, no?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right, John. And the reality is, when I used to work for insurance companies years and years ago, I would also order surveillance on behalf of my insurance clients on individuals. And, rarely, there would be some cases where I would be catching them on a lie, but we're talking about very serious stuff. I remember this one case of this person who said he was in a car accident and was unable to walk at any point any longer without a cane. And we had surveillance showing him not only walking without a cane, but holding more bags than I can hold at any given point. I mean, and groceries and an iron board. So when you have very, very stark differences like that, when you have lies, people are lying, then surveillance is very advantageous for the insurance company. But in most circumstances, I actually find that surveillance oftentimes confirms what an individual is saying that their limitations are. But again, remember, insurance companies will use whatever they can against you. They will try to cut you off and use any excuse to cut you off. And so oftentimes they'll tell you, you said that you're depressed and we've seen you go to the gym. What does one have to do with the other? Oftentimes the doctor will tell you to actually get some exercise. It's good for you. It's going to make you feel better. Endorphins, right? We're told that. But insurance companies will not use that, right? The adjuster will call you up or send you a letter saying, we have the surveillance and we have seen you do X, Y, and Z. And, you're afraid, number one. You feel like your life has been invaded, which in a way it has. But, even more so, you feel powerless. And I'm here to tell you, you are not powerless. Most of the surveillance is absolutely not harmful to you. And in fact, when you get that surveillance or when the adjuster says, we have you on surveillance doing so and so, you ask to see that surveillance and you be critical of what it is that the adjuster is saying that you've done on that surveillance. If you are not lying, if you are going about your life, if you are doing what the doctor has suggested that you do, you have nothing to worry about, nothing to be afraid of. And the insurance company, they know that. And if they try to cut you off, they try to do something they're not supposed to, we can hold them accountable. That's the message.
Now, before I've hired you as a lawyer and you take me on as a client in my case, do I have any access? Am I privy to that footage of surveillance? Or once I hire you and we start a claim against the insurance company, they have to show you, do they not?
They don't have to show you anything. They don't have to show you their surveillance. If they send you to one of their doctors, technically they're not allowed to. They don't have to give you the doctor's report. Yeah. They don't have to do anything. If they cut you off benefits, if they deny your claim, if they do anything that breaches your right under the insurance contract, and we start a legal claim against them, that's a different ballgame altogether, because then they're subject to the rules of civil procedure of the legality, the legal mechanisms that we have in place. They cannot simply hide that stuff at that point. They have to provide it, especially if they've used surveillance as a reason to deny your claim or to cut you off. They cannot hide behind that. We get everything from them. I often say, John, that when we start a legal claim and we demand then the full insurance file, we can get to see the guts of the decision-making process that the adjuster went through, that the insurance company went through. Yeah. And at that point, we go and look for every single mistake that the insurance company has made, and we attack them for it.
Again, LTD FAQ is another website Savan mentioned there you can use anytime, and help@disabilityrights.ca. That's the email address we're going to use a little later on in the show. But there is another website, and your partner, Lior, of course, has the Employment Law Show that we air here as well. pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. It's like, okay, well, it's an employment law website, but no, there is a pretty robust section on disability law wrapped up into that employment law, Pocket Employment Lawyer website that's free and anonymous. Why is that there?
It's there because many people who have employment law issues also suffer from some kind of a disability and have issues with their disability insurance company. And conversely, people who are on LTD or on long-term disability or short-term disability suddenly have issues with their employer. They get fired, their job description gets changed, they get demoted, whatever happens while they're on disability. And so, at our firm, we really have two areas of focus, of specialty: employment law and disability and injury law. And so the reason why the pocket employment lawyer contains a disability law section is because it allows individuals out there, whether they have employment issues or not, to go there, to input a few key pieces of information about their own situation and get free advice and accurate advice about their situation. And again, it's free, it's anonymous. If you want to contact us afterwards, you can click a button and we get a submission. But if you don't, you close your browser, we will not know that you were there. Pocket employment lawyer, there is nothing of its kind. We created it so that people can have quick access to this information without even having to call us or email us if they don't want to.
Well, you mentioned email, and I did off the top as well, help@disabilityrights.ca. Not only during this show or the radio show, you can use it anytime to reach out to Sivan and his crew. Want to get to our first email of the day. Sivan, this one from Lisa, says, I was approved for disability benefits last year. A few months ago, the insurer told me I had to see their neuropsychologist for an assessment. Weeks later, my benefits were cut off as a neuropsychologist determined I was not totally disabled. My counselor, psychiatrist, and my family doctor agree I should not be working. What can I do?
Well, this is a very clear-cut case that we see quite often where an insurance company, again, uses a tool that it has in its toolbox to cut people off unjustly, and we can do something about that. So first of all, that neuropsychiatrist, that person that the insurance company wanted to have this person seen and assessed by, this is called an IME, an independent medical examination. Now, insurance companies, when you're an LTD, will tell you, we want you to be seen by one of our experts, one of our doctors, one of our professionals, and they call that an independent assessment. It's nothing but independent. And I say that because the insurance company gets to choose which assessor, the insurance company pays that assessor, the insurance company provides instructions to that assessor. That assessor, in effect, works for the insurance company. Again, when I used to work for insurance companies, I would set those kinds of assessments up all the time. And John, I would not be, I would not be setting up those assessments just for the hell of it and just so that the insurance company can get a different point of view on the situation, on the individual that's making the claim. I would get that assessment done, and I'll be frank about it, to help the insurance company because we've used those assessors before. We know how they roll. We know what kind of opinions they generally generate. Those doctors can be the best doctors in the world as practitioners. But oftentimes when insurance companies select an assessor, they generally speaking, in my experience, select assessors that they know will come back with an assessment or opinion that is advantageous to the insurance company and often contradicts the treating doctor's opinions. So as we've seen in this email, this person obviously has people treating them that say that they're disabled, and yet the insurance company's expert says something to the contrary. And on the basis of that expert, quote unquote, expert opinion, the insurance company has now cut this person off benefits. Again, we see this all the time. It is not difficult to fight. It's not difficult to go after the insurance company and get them to the table to pay what the person's owed. The trick is to understand that you have those rights, to understand that the fact that the insurance company's expert or doctor or assessor came up with that opinion that contradicts your own doctor's, that's not the end of the story. That at that point, what we do is we go after the insurance company. We then demand, once we issue the claim, that we get a copy of that assessment. We provide that assessment to the treating doctors to comment on. And generally speaking, treating doctors are very good in tearing apart those assessors' opinions because generally those assessors don't know the individual, right? Treating doctors have been treating this person for years, potentially. And so when you have a single assessor that sees this individual one time, and sometimes they don't even see the person, sometimes they don't even assess the person, they just look at the file, at the medical file, and come up with their conclusions. It is not difficult to fight the insurance companies in those cases. You just need to know what to do. You need to have the expertise in the area, and you need to know where the pressure points are on the insurance company, and that's what we do every single day, John.
Let's take our first break, and when we come back, how your doctor can help with your LTD case. That is on the way. Do not go anywhere. In the meantime, the phone number 1-855-821-5900. help@disabilityrights.ca. That's the email address. We'll continue. Disability Law Show. Stick around.
People think you have to sign back a severance offer by a deadline. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Deadlines are used as a pressure tactic. Make sure the offer is fair before you sign. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. Can insurance companies deny long-term disability claims for mental illness?
When you're suffering from a mental health disability, insurance companies just don't understand. But we do.
They can absolutely not force you back to work. If your doctors say you are not ready and you know you're not ready, they cannot make you go back to work.
If you have a mental health disability and your claim is denied, don't give up. Give us a call and let us fight for you.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think you aren't owed severance pay if you are fired for a reason. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Most for-cause terminations are false, and you are still owed full severance. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Okay, welcome back. Disability Law Show. John Scholes alongside Sivan Tumarkin, of course, co-founding partner, Samfiru Tumarkin LLP. Get the compensation you deserve. This is not a lottery win. It's not a windfall. It is money owed to you. That's what the benefits were paid for. And if you're getting static from the insurance company, they're going to cut you off or have cut you off. Make that phone call. At least have a simple, free conversation with Sivan and the members team. 1-855-821-5900. We'll do that. Okay, Sivan, let's get into this. 3 things your doctor could do to help your LTD claim. Number 1, provide a report explaining your disability and how your disability affects your work duties.
This is absolutely critical. Remember that when you're applying for long-term disability, or even when you're on long-term disability and you have to provide updated reports to the insurance company, you need your doctor to be very explicit about what it is that is the nature of your disabling condition or conditions. It could be an injury, it could be an illness, it could be a combination of both. And you need to make sure that the doctor explains how that, from a functional standpoint, affects your ability to work. So it's not enough to just bring a sick note. That's just not going to do it with an insurance company. And you know, John, we talked at the beginning of the show about this website that we have, LTDFAQ.ca. There is actually a memo there, a short memo that explains exactly what would be ideal for a doctor to comment on when providing a report, a letter, anything like that from a documentation standpoint to the insurance company to confirm how the person is disabled and why they cannot work.
You know, it's interesting, too, because you've mentioned the fact that you've dealt with doctors before. You're not coaching them what to say. You're not a doctor, nor would you ever claim to be. But it's the formatics of the answer, I guess, is more what you can provide as far as an answer is concerned, right, for the doctors that are writing that assessment.
You're 100% correct. And in fact, you have to be very, very careful. I mean, obviously, I'm not a doctor, as you said, but even more to the point, I'm not interested in influencing the doctor. I am interested in the doctor providing the most accurate information, providing the most accurate information that they can to the insurance company, because insurance companies, to their, credit, they have to operate on information, and the information has to be written down when it comes to medical professionals' advice and opinions. And so it's absolutely clear that the doctors understand what to write, or no, let's rephrase that, how to write what to write. So I never tell a doctor, as an example, say that the person is suffering from depression. No, I think the doctor should be asked, is this person suffering from something that is preventing them from working? And if so, what is it in your medical opinion? And those kinds of questions are very key here. And that's why that memo that we have on the website is really important in informing doctors. And John, I get doctors calling me literally on a weekly basis from across the country who are either viewing this show or have been asked by their patients to be in touch with me, psychologists, psychiatrists, and they're not asking me what to write. They're asking me, what is the insurance company looking for? Because they're trying to support their patients. They understand that their patients are under a tremendous amount of stress. They need time to recuperate, to recover, to heal, and they want to do whatever they can. Not every doctor does that, but the ones that do take initiative, we speak all the time to them, and we're very happy when they reach out to us, because then we can explain to them, here's what the insurance company is asking for. It's basically enhancing communication between the doctor and the insurance company.
Okay, second thing your doctor could do to help your LTD claim, and this one's a big one, they can confirm that you're participating in rehab treatments, recommended treatments, right?
Absolutely key as well. Absolutely. Every insurance policy that I have seen contains some kind of a clause that says something to the effect of that in order to be qualified for long-term disability benefits and to continue to be qualified for those, you have to participate and undergo reasonable treatments. And if you think about it, that makes complete sense. It's not just the doctrine and the principle of mitigation in law, which basically stipulates that if you are injured or you suffer damages, you have an obligation under the law to lessen those damages if you can. So if you are injured or you're ill, you can't simply stay on the couch, lie down, go to sleep, and say, I'm not going to participate in any treatments whatsoever. Now, I want to be clear here. Some people have issues with medication. Some people have issues with undergoing certain treatments. That's okay. Nothing's wrong with that. But you need to be in communication with whoever's treating you, whether it's a specialist or your family doctor, your physiotherapist, whoever it is. And you need to make sure that you are in touch with them and that you work out with them what is the best system of treatments that they believe can help you get back on the horse, right? Get back to being better, to be, go back to work. And when the doctor then writes a letter, or your treatment provider writes a letter to the insurance company, stating what your disability is, in the same breath they should say, and this person is following prescribed treatments. And if they can give detail about that, that's even better. But that's key, because if you are not following prescribed treatments, that's going to go against you. The insurance company is going to use that to stop your benefits.
Let's get it going here. Wrap it up with the third thing they can do, and that is comment how long you may be disabled from working. That's a big one too.
That's a very, very big one. And, again, doctors are very hesitant to say this person will never work again. They're also hesitant to say this person is going to be back at work in a week. Sometimes they say both, but it's very rare. And so what I tell doctors is, look, no one is going to blame you if your prognosis is incorrect, but give yourself some leeway. Don't create ambiguity, but provide sort of your general viewpoint. If you think this person suffers from depression, for example, that's your diagnosis, and you think this person cannot work for the next little while, then just say, for the foreseeable future, this person should be off work for so-and-so reason, to be reevaluated in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years, whatever it is. So you don't have to say that this person is permanently disabled unless, in fact, you're completely 100% sure that's the case. You also don't have to say, by this date, this person should be able to go back and work. No, it's okay to say in the foreseeable future, and then to be reevaluated at some other, some whatever interval. That's key. Because if you don't provide that kind of information, the insurance company is going to be left in the dark as to when they should be looking to you for more commentary and advice as to whether or not this person should be back at work or not. So prognosis is important, but nobody's asking you to be specific and say, in 2 years, this person can go back to work. No, that's not what they're asking for.
And remember, anytime you have questions that come up as we're talking about these talking points with Sivan, you can simply give him a call, talk to his team, 1-855-821-5900. Are you able to earn other income while on TD? LTD. We'll tackle that after a break, which we're going to take right now, and continue on. Email as well, help@disabilityrights.ca to reach out anytime. It's the Disability Law Show, and we're coming right back.
People think you should go to the government to get severance pay. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Government can only help you get minimum severance, but not everything you're entitled to. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca. If your long-term disability claim is denied, should you appeal?
Appeals often fail because insurance companies control the process. So long as you appeal, you're playing by their rules.
You should never appeal the denial of your disability benefits. Appeals are just a mirage of false hope.
Don't. That's their process. Take it out of their hands and fight for your rights with our help.
Go to disabilityrights.ca. Discover your rights, fight back, and get what you're owed. People think their employer can make changes to their job. EmploymentLawyer.ca says that is a myth. Your employer can't change your pay, hours, or duties. You may be entitled to full severance pay. Always check with the employment lawyer first at EmploymentLawyer.ca.
Okay, and we're back. A few minutes to go. Disability Law Show. Thanks for tuning in. Tumarkin beside me, of course. And I mentioned off the top of the show, one way you can ask questions anytime with a searchable database, so you can see if it's been asked in the past. MyDisabilityQuestions.com. Savan, we'll get to one. This one from Grant for this show. He says, "Guys, I have an online business and a full-time job. I suffered an injury recently, and my doctor recommended that I apply for LTD. Can I still earn money from my business while I collect LTD benefits?"
Well, I will start the answer with the classic way you answer a law school question, which is it depends.
Depends.
And it does depend because it depends on the policy. Some policies, some LTD policies contain provisions that stipulate that if you can do some other work, if you have some other income, and by the way, that income depends. It can be income by way of severance. It can be income from another job. Then what happens is the insurance company gets a deduction for that. Meaning that if they have to pay you, let's say, $5,000 a month, as an example, because you can't work your job, but you're able to earn $2,000 from a side business, then they get a credit for that $2,000, so they only write you a check for $3,000 a month. Other policies, and I've seen that recently actually in a policy out of BC, where this person, again, had that similar type of a situation here. They weren't able to go back to their full-time job, but they had a side business, a cleaning business, and really what they were doing, they were not actually doing the physical act of cleaning, but they were managing that. And so what happened in that situation is that when I looked at the policy, there was a provision that says that if you are on LTD, you cannot earn any other money from any other business or a job or anything like that without the insurance company's permission. And if you do, well, then they're not going to pay you altogether what you're owed under the policy. It doesn't matter that legitimately you cannot work in your primary occupation and that you're getting this, let's say, passive type income from the other business that you're managing on the side. You simply are not allowed to earn this income from another business or another job, or else the insurance company will simply not pay you altogether. And again, remember, every policy is distinct and different. We have to look at the provisions. And so it really does depend on what the policy says. Generally speaking, if you have multiple jobs and you cannot do one of them, on most policies, you will be entitled to some form of income or income replacement under the LTD policy. But again, will the insurance company then get a credit for anything else you can earn from the other business that you're running? That's up for debate. That does depend on the provisions in your policy and the interpretation of those provisions, which is, again, John, why we tell people, give us a call. Give us a call, because then we'll review the policy, we'll look at your situation, and we'll tell you what you can and cannot do.
I don't think Grant said what is his other business is his own business, but with this type of thing, other than the benefit, or at least the money that the insurance company will take off his benefit if he's earning income for his own business, will that maybe put him under a microscope if it's a physical type job and he's off for a physical injury? I don't know if it is. I'm just saying, would they put him under a little bit of a microscope? Maybe not surveillance, but
100%, John. Anytime you have a situation that's a bit unusual, the adjuster is going to take a second look. That's just the way they do things. They're going to, listen, insurance companies are in the business of not paying claims. They're not in the business of paying claims. It doesn't matter what ads you see on TV and hear on the radio. Insurance companies want to collect premiums, they want to make money, and they don't want to pay. And that's the same, not just for disability. It's the same for house insurance, travel insurance, health insurance, any kind of insurance you have. And so when you have somebody who is saying, I cannot work in job X, but I can do something to do with job Y or business Y, the insurance company is going to take a look at it and see if they can deny you payment. That's where we come.
Last minute to go, last 30 seconds. Any final words as we continue on this COVID business? I know it has a lot to do with what you guys do at the firm, Savan.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, it affects what we do on the employment side and on the disability side. And, if I have learned anything over this, these last year and a half plus, is that people are strong, but people also need encouragement to ask for help when they need help. And so if you are having issues with your employer or with your long-term disability insurance company, come to us for help. Ask for help. We will help you. We will give you the information that you need to make an informed decision on how to proceed.
It'll cost you nothing for a phone call, right? Just use the number anytime, 1-855-821-5900. Again, mydisabilityquestions.com. That is also free and anonymous to ask your questions. Type those in. And you can also email help@disabilityrights.ca, help@disabilityrights.ca. Thanks for joining us. Stick around for 30 minutes, and we'll catch you next time on the Disability Law Show.